Thank you for joining us.
Namaste.
Today, I thought we would do some practice using the belt so we can find our way into seated forward bend or Paschimottanasana. Because Paschimottanasana can be quite a challenging pose because many of us have tight hamstrings or we have tightness in our back. And so we'll go through some postures using the belt to see if we can find more length in the body through the side body, the hamstrings, the back of the body, and see if we can ease our way into a Paschimottanasana using the belt as part of the practice. So let's begin. So I have my belt here, and we will do some things that will require a long belt and some things that it's fine to have a shorter belt. And if your belt isn't long enough, I'll just make sure I give you options. Sometimes people have been known to strap two belts together to make a really long belt, but this one is a pretty good long belt for some of what we're doing today. So let's lie down on our backs and just bend the feet here. And then just bring the arms to the side. We're just going to do a little bit of windshield wiper with the knees. Just wake up the thigh sockets, wake up the back a bit. So I'm windshield wipering them both together. And now you can also drop one knee, drop the other, or you can do them together and you can see what kind of stretch you might get from just dropping one knee down, keeping one knee up, and then dropping the other knee down. Drop one knee, the other, and then a couple more windshield wiper legs. And then bring the knees up, and we'll start them a bit wide, and you can cup your hands around the shins, just kind of pressing down to roll the back a little bit, just to give yourself some stretch through the sacrum. And then you can slowly, as you're doing this, pressing the knees in, bringing the knees closer into each other. If it doesn't feel right to have the knees close in, you can keep them wider, but it's also nice to work with the wideness and then slowly moving into the center. And then you can just really hold the knees in here. Then you can take your belt and just straighten the legs where they can go. Like if you need to have them below 90 degrees, do. But if you can bring them to 90 degrees, bring them to 90 degrees. See if you can imagine the backs of the knees opening like eyeballs, so that it just opens through that area. And you might feel stretch in the hamstrings, you might feel stretch behind the knees or in the calves, but really gauge what feels like your edge of stretch, as opposed to that you're going into an old injury or hyperextending the knees. And then take the belt down towards the heels and really press the heels in there and see if the stretch is a little bit different. And then bend the knees in. And you're free to do whatever you want with the arms. You can hold the elbows over, you can tuck the hands underneath, you keep the hands down. We'll do a little bit of some leg raises in a couple of different ways. So bend the knees in, press the heels up, exhale, really press through the heels as you go down, really engaging the legs. Now only go as far as your body feels okay with the pose. And you bend the knees back in, going to 90 degrees if you can. If you need it to be a little bit lower, that's okay. So this is abdominal work, but at the same time, we're really stretching through the backs of the legs as well. Inhale the knees, straighten through the heels. Exhale, slowly bringing the legs down. Inhale the knees, straighten through the heels. Exhale down. Now when you're down here, reverse the pose. Inhale the legs up straight, bending the knees. And press the heels wherever they can go, low or higher, and then inhale up. So whatever works for you here. We're really trying to go into the underlying core muscles here that support us. And keep breathing, so we don't want to be holding the breath here. And then do one more. And then just bend the knees, place the feet down, and just do a couple of windshield wipers. Just to loosen up in the lower back, soften the legs. And then bend the knees in, and depending on your body, in your range of motion, we're going to do straight leg, a couple straight-legged up and down. So just do your best range. You can bring it lower or keep it at 90, and then exhale down. You can hover to the floor, inhale up, or you can just go halfway down. Exhale, hover to the floor, inhale up. Exhale, hover to the floor, inhale up. Exhale, hover the floor, inhale up. And bend the knees in, and you can again windshield wiper. And then take the belt again, put it around the balls of the feet, and then just go to 90 degrees and just notice if your hamstrings feel a little bit more open or warmed up, or the back of the knees feel warmed up. Because when we do Paschimottanasana, we're sitting the other way. So just notice how your legs are there. And then bend the knees, roll to the side, and come onto your hands and knees. And then we'll do a little bit of some lunges to warm up the legs in another direction. So if you need to, you can come onto your fingertips. This is where it's nice sometimes to have two blocks. And just swing that leg between the hands. And then bring the palms up onto the thigh. So I've got my right foot forward. So you can come straight, hips level begin with. And then engage those abdominals and begin to lunge forward. Then I said I was going to use the belt today. So bring the belt around your thigh sockets here, arms down, and really lunge, keeping those hips as even as you can using the arms. And then come on up, and then just, if you can, lift the foot up, straighten the leg, holding the belt here, and you can come a little bit more forward with that leg, and you can just bend forward a little bit. See if you can feel that stretch behind the hamstring, or maybe it's in the back. And then inhale, come up, bend that leg in, bring it back, and then come down to all fours, and you can just do a little bit of circling in the pelvis so we don't get too tense in the spine. And then if you need to, come onto your fingertips and swing that left foot through. And then you can bring the belt up where the thigh meets the pelvis, and you can press down and lunge forward. Inhale, come up, come onto that heel, and you can bring that heel forward with a straight leg forward, and then using the belt here as if you were pulling that crease so that you can lengthen through the back here, but also through the hamstring. And then slide that foot up and sling the foot back. And then if you're able, I think we tried this before, if you're able to do this, and this is where you need the bigger belt. If you don't have that, don't worry about it. But I'm going to put the belt on my feet and then see if I can come into downward dog with it on my shoulder blades. Yeah. So I think we did this once before. Now, this does narrow the feet a little bit, but if you have a big enough belt, you might feel how the shoulder blades get a little pressure, and then you're not falling into your hands and shoulders too much, which happens often in this pose. And then bring the knees down and just come into big toes together, knees wide, just for a couple of breaths. I'm going to see if I can widen my belt just a little bit, and then therefore widen my feet a little bit. So I'm going to bring the belt right to where the base of my shoulder blades are. If it's around your back, that's okay too. And then I'm going to try to bring my feet more in there. And then walk my hands forward and come into, oh, that brought my feet closer together. Anyway, whatever. Couple of breaths here. And then what happens when you keep the knees soft, walk the hands in. Now's where I can widen my feet a little bit. But I have the belt here, so I can actually hold here and get some length in the back, looking forward. And another option, if your belt isn't long enough, is to have the belt under the feet and the hands hold it and just look forward, see if you can get that length in the spine, and then soften the head down. And you may be way up here, so don't, we're just trying to ease ourselves in here. And then slowly soften the knees. Roll up your spine. And then we'll do some standing poses with the belt around the thigh where we hold it. So it's not where we use it between the legs like we've done recently. So I'll do mirror image. So I'm going to bring the legs wide. The back foot is turned in slightly. The right foot is heel to toe. Then I bring the belt up to this front thigh, and then I take the opposite arm behind me and hold that. And then hopefully you feel that space in the side body, and that's maybe really holding this leg is going to give you a little bit more stability. It certainly gives some stretch through the front shoulder here. And like I say, it's always good to try, and you might even get more space between the feet. It's always good to do standing poses in different ways to see what new information you get from different ways. Then slowly come up, bring the feet together, and change the location of the belt on the other thigh. And again, hold it with the opposite arm, and then see if you can really get that reach through that whole side body. Find the thigh or the shin. And you've got that top shoulder up. A couple of breaths here. So in a way, doing this work, we're getting a bit of arm work too, huh? Because you can really use the strength in your arm to pull that thigh, sit bone underneath you. And then inhale, slowly come up. Bring the feet parallel. And just come into Tadasana for a few breaths, just to feel how the legs are right now, how the back is, whether the head is well balanced on the top. And then we'll do the legs wide again and go into Parsvottanasana. So holding the belt as we did in the previous pose into Trikonasana. You're going to bend through Warrior Two, then bring the forearm here and really pull that sit bone underneath you, using that top arm to give yourself space in the side body, space in the front of the shoulders. And inhale, slowly come up. Bring the feet parallel and change sides. So change the feet, put the belt on top of the opposite thigh, Put the opposite arm behind, holding onto the belt. And then reaching that arm, really pulling that thigh, that sit bone underneath you. And, oh, sorry, going into the wrong pose. Going into warrior two, then bringing the forearm down. And really pulling that belt behind. Inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel, and bring them into Tadasana. And I'm hoping that you start to feel how you get more length in that side body. And that's going to also help in Paschimottanasana. So now we're going to bring the feet not quite as wide. And again, I'll do mirror image. So we're going to pivot all the way so that the back foot pivots forward. Now what happens a lot in this pose, in Paschimottanasana, is that this hip pulls back. But we're trying to bring both hips around evenly. And this is where you can hold the belt right in front of those hips as you lean forward. We'll do this a couple of times just to get used to it. So we're coming towards halfway, and you may still be quite far up. But if you can get to halfway, great. And you can feel the arms working here. And maybe you feel some stretch in the hamstring. A couple of breaths. Now slowly come up. Bring the feet parallel. They won't be quite as wide. And then pivot to the other side. So the back foot turns in. You've got the belt around the fronts of your hips. And then starting to come forward. Try to come halfway down if you can. And really pull the belt behind you to even those hips. So you might need to pull more on the inside arm than this arm, because that might be your tendency. Inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel. And we'll do that again. And this time the aim is just to see if you can go just a little bit further. And a little bit further can be a smidge. It doesn't have to be longer, but often if we do a pose twice, we begin to feel how the body starts to rest in it and open up it. So then pivot that back foot in, front foot forward, going forward, and then see if you can start to bring that forehead towards the shin. You may not get there right now. Couple of breaths. Inhale, slowly come up. Pivot back around parallel and turning the other direction. So again, you bring the belt in front of those hips, lengthen, and see if you can go just a little bit further than you did on the last pose. Bring the feet parallel, back together. And then I'm just going to move my, oh yeah, I'm not going to, okay, never mind. We're going to come back into standing forward bend. So again, bring the belt under the balls of the foot, hands around, and inhale, look forward. And then you can come more forward. You might be able to hold onto your big toes, but you can also use the belt here. If you can hold the big toes, you can again inhale, look forward, exhale, open from the elbows. Again, you can just be holding the belt. Slowly bend the knees and roll up the spine. And we'll just do reverse Paschimottanasana first, which means that our back can relax in this so that we're opening the hamstrings. And then we'll sit and do it the forward way. So if you can bring your belt onto the balls of your feet and just start in an easeful place where you're not having any trouble breathing. And then start to bring the shins towards the forehead and have a few breaths here. So try not to rush it. Try to really keep engaging the upper thighs. And your back is on the mat, so you won't be putting stress on the back and lifting too much of the sacrum off, just a little bit. So you can slowly start to bring the shins towards the forehead. Notice where you have the resistance, or notice where you feel that stretch. Take some breaths into that space. And then you can bring them even closer. Of course, you might be able to reach your feet as well, or hold the big toes. But it's also nice just to stay with the belt. So every time I bring mine a little bit closer, I have to remember to keep the knees open because I might want to do a little bend here. So that might be your theme as well. And then slowly release that. And if you need to windshield wiper the legs again, you can, just to release any other tension building up. And then come into sitting. And if you need a little bit of height, as I've said before, if you're sitting way back here, it is a good idea to have some height under your sit bones, and blankets will do, blocks will do, whatever works for you. So, it's just nice to have something like that. Gives a little more space for the legs to open up. So we will start again here. We've got the belt is, we'll start this way, and then if you've got a long belt, I'll show you some more options. So actually, the first thing we should do is, like in our standing poses, bring the belt here on the thighs, and the idea is that you're really pressing the thighs to the ground and coming and hinging forward without rounding the thoracic spine. And this is great, you know, in the old days in class where you had a teacher and the teacher could come around and just take a hold of that belt. And then inhale, slowly come up and find your feet with the belt. So you'll feel, you know, when we use the belt in different ways, you'll feel the stretch perhaps differently or in different parts of the body. So then bring the belt around the balls of the feet, and then inhale, looking forward, and then just trying to find what length you can. This is where you might be able to hold the feet as well. You're trying to keep that thoracic spine in. And then the next use of the belt is bringing the belt around you. I haven't quite figured out where it's best to place the belt here, but I think what you can do is you can bring the, you know, start to slowly tighten the belt, bring it at the base of your shoulder blades if you can, and then you've got the belt to hold on to. If it feels loose, you can just keep tightening it. And then see if you can just keep softening that forehead. And then inhale, slowly come up and prepare yourself for whatever kind of Shavasana you need. But let's do a little check before we do that, which is coming down to laying on your back and bringing the belt on the backs of your balls of your feet. And just notice your legs. Just notice what's happening. Are they feeling a little bit more open? Maybe you can pull them a little closer and reverse Paschimottanasana. And then just release that and feet up the wall. Feet on the chair, whatever kind of Shavasana you want to do. We did prone Shavasana the other day, but you can do whatever feels right today. And whatever pose you're in, just allow your body to settle. And then slowly aware of deepen your breath, backs of your legs, bringing a little bit of movement back into your body. And you'll see if you can take a little bit of a stretch from the backs of the heels to the backs of the knees, up into the sit bone, then to roll over to your side. You can really bring that knee and elbow towards each other. Feel the length in the opposite side and then bring it all together.
And then you slowly ground the lower part of the body to bring
your
yourself up to
toes and the
sitting.
top of your feet and ankles, shins, fronts of the knees, tops of the thighs into the thigh socket. See if you can just relax the top of your leg. And see if you can imagine your pelvis like a bowl. The outer rim soften. The contents are softening. All the surfaces of the bowl soften. Front of the rib cage, sides of the rib cage, back of the rib cage soften. And see if you can soften from your fingertips through your hands, wrists, forearms, elbows, upper arms, into your shoulder socket, into your shoulder girdle. So the whole arm, shoulder girdle is relaxed. The throat softens. Back of the neck softens and lengthens. Your scalp is softening. Forehead widens and softens. Your temples are softening. Space between the eyebrow widens and softens. The eyeballs rest into the eye socket. Your cheeks are softening. Your jaw softens. Your chin is softening. So your whole neck, throat, face, and head is relaxed. Slowly begin to deepen your breath, bringing a little bit of movement to your fingers, your toes, hands, and feet. And you can give yourself a big stretch. Roll to your side. And in your own time, come up to sitting. I hope that practice offered you some new information about your own body. thank you for watching and joining us. And namaste.